December 7, 1941, 8:02 a.m. Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The sky roars without warning. Aircraft dive low over the water. Bombs fall fast. The harbor erupts in fire and smoke. Steel screams as it tears apart. Sailors run across decks slick with fuel and blood. Anti-aircraft guns hammer upward. The air smells of burning oil and salt. A bomb punches through a flight deck. Another explodes beside a moored battleship. Water jumps high into the air. Men shout orders that vanish in the noise. Damage control teams drag hoses through smoke-filled corridors. Metal glows red. Paint peels from the heat. On Ford Island, planes burn where they sit. In the harbor, ships list hard to one side. Some roll completely over. Others sink slowly, trapped by shallow water. Amid the chaos, aircraft carriers are missing. They are out at sea. But the lesson of this morning will not be about the ships that were hit. It will be about the ships that survive damage later. Ships that return to battle far sooner than anyone expects. Across the Pacific, Japanese officers watch reports with confidence. They believe America will take years to recover. They believe carriers are fragile things. They are wrong. This moment is only the opening strike in a much larger story. If you want more stories like this, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. The aircraft carrier became central to war in the Pacific because distance ruled everything. Islands were scattered across thousands of miles. Airfields were rare and vulnerable. Whoever controlled the air over the ocean controlled movement, supply, and survival. Before the war, the United States Navy invested heavily in carriers. Designers focused on large flight decks, strong internal structure, and flexible damage control systems. By 1941, American fleet carriers displaced over 20,000 tons. They carried around 90 aircraft. Their engines pushed them beyond 30 knots. Their steel decks were not armored like British carriers, but their internal compartments were divided to limit flooding. American doctrine emphasized rapid repair. Crews trained constantly in damage control. Firefighting drills were routine. Spare parts were stockpiled. Naval shipyards were expanded years before the war. Pearl Harbor, Puget Sound, and Mare Island were prepared to handle major repairs. Japan also built excellent carriers. They were fast and powerful. But Japanese doctrine focused on offense, not recovery. Their damage control training was limited. Their shipyards were fewer and harder to expand under wartime pressure. American planners believed carriers would take hits. They planned for it. They designed ships and systems with the assumption that damage was not the end. This belief would soon be tested in combat. In early battles, American carriers struggled. Crews were inexperienced. Coordination between air groups and ship commanders was uneven. Early carrier battles revealed confusion and costly mistakes. At Coral Sea in May 1942, the carrier Lexington took to torpedoes and several bomb hits. Fires spread rapidly. Gasoline vapors ignited. Damage control teams fought 4 hours. One internal explosion sealed the ship's fate. Lexington was lost. Reports were blunt. One officer wrote, "Fire spread faster than we could contain it." Another noted poor ventilation control. Training gaps were clear. At the same battle, Yorktown was hit by a bomb that punched through the flight deck. The ship lost power briefly. Smoke filled the hangar. Japanese pilots reported the carrier destroyed. Yorktown limped away at 20 knots. Many believed she would be out of action for months. Japanese intelligence agreed. Their estimates assumed heavy structural damage meant long repairs. Their officers believed carriers were delicate machines that could not be rushed back to sea. American dockyard workers disagreed. When Yorktown reached Pearl Harbor on May 27th, engineers assessed the damage. The estimate was 3 months. Admiral Nimitz needed her in 3 days. Crews worked around the clock. Welders cut away damaged steel. Electricians rerouted cables. Flight deck crews patched holes with steel plates. Pumps replaced flooded compartments. 72 hours later, Yorktown sailed. Japanese planners never imagined this was possible. American crews soon learned how to fight smarter and survive longer. Damage control doctrine improved rapidly. Fire boundaries were established faster. Aviation fuel systems were modified. Better ventilation control reduced internal explosions. Carriers learned to maneuver during attacks. Sharp turns reduced bomb accuracy. Speed made torpedo runs harder. Radar improved early warning. Combat air patrols intercepted attackers farther out. The strength of American carriers was not armor. It was resilience. They could absorb damage, isolate it, and return to combat. Repair crews became part of the weapon system. Shipyards developed modular repair methods. Prefabricated sections replaced damaged areas quickly. Spare aircraft engines and elevators were kept ready. The combination of ship design, trained crews, and industrial capacity turned damage into delay instead of defeat. This strength would soon shock the enemy. June 4, 1942, Midway atoll, dawn breaks over a restless sea. 4 Japanese carriers launch their aircraft. They strike Midway. American planes respond in waves, many flying low on fuel. Torpedo squadrons attack without fighter cover. On Yorktown, lookouts spot incoming aircraft. Dive bombers scream down through the clouds. One bomb punches through the flight deck. Another explodes near the island. Fires erupt. Power fails. Damage control teams move instantly. Fires are contained. Within an hour, Yorktown recovers aircraft again. Then torpedo planes arrive to hit tear into the port side. The ship loses power. She stops dead in the water. Japanese pilots report her sinking. Again, they are wrong. Crewmen counter flood compartments. Power is restored. The ship makes way at 20 knots. Later that day, a Japanese submarine fires torpedoes to hit. Yorktown finally succumbs. But the damage she absorbed, the time she bought, helps secure victory. 3 Japanese carriers burn and sink. A 4th follows later. After Midway, Japanese officers study reports. They cannot understand how Yorktown fought so long. One staff officer reportedly said that ship died twice. In August 1942, the carrier Enterprise faces heavy attacks near Guadalcanal. Japanese bombers break through fighter cover. 3 bombs hit. 1 explodes near an elevator. Fires spread across the hangar. Enterprise loses steering briefly. Smoke fills passageways. Crewmen fight flames with foam and water. Within hours, flight operations resume. Japanese reconnaissance spots Enterprise days later. They assume it is another carrier. They do not believe the same ship could still be fighting. At Santa Cruz in October 1942, Honnet is hit repeatedly and lost. Enterprise takes to bomb hits and survives again. Each battle reinforces the pattern. American carriers take damage, they return. In November 1942, the carrier Saratoga is torpedoed by a submarine. The blast rips open her side. Flooding is severe. She limps to Pearl Harbor. Repairs take 3 months. Japanese planners assume this is fast. They do not know what is coming. By 1943, repair times shrink further. Improved yard coordination cuts weeks off schedules. Crews rotate directly from combat into repair planning. At the Philippine Sea in June 1944, carriers endure kamikaze-like attacks in training drills. Damage control teams are ready. When Franklin is hit in March 1945, the damage is catastrophic. Bombs ignite armed aircraft. Fires rage uncontrollably. Over 700 men die, yet Franklin survives. She reaches port under her own power. Japanese observers are stunned. A ship that should be lost sails home. Behind the scenes, American industry drives this success. By 1944, the United States builds a fleet carrier every few months. Essex-class carriers roll out in numbers Japan cannot match. Over 24 Essex-class carriers are completed during the war. Each displaces around 27,000 tons. Each carries over 90 aircraft. Their standardized design simplifies repair. Shipyards operate non-stop. Workers number in the tens of thousands. Steel, engines, and electronics flow steadily. Repair docks expand. Floating dry docks are deployed forward. Japan struggles to replace losses. Their carriers take longer to repair. Skilled labor is scarce. Fuel shortages limit training. Damage control remains weak. American carriers return faster than Japanese intelligence can track. This changes strategy. Japan cannot predict which carriers are available. Surprise fades, initiative shifts, the psychological impact is severe. Japanese pilots report attacking carriers that reappear days later. Rumors spread. Crews whisper about American ships that cannot be sunk. One diary notes, "We hit it before. It should be gone." American sailors gain confidence. They trust their ships. They trust their repair crews. Damage becomes something to endure, not fear. Nicknames emerge. Enterprise becomes the grey ghost because the enemy believes she's everywhere. Fear shifts direction. Late in the war, carriers evolve further. Flight deck operations improve. Radar becomes more accurate. Fire suppression systems are upgraded. Foam systems replace water in key areas. Damage control lockers multiply. Training intensifies. Lessons from every battle feed into new procedures. Carriers operate in fast task forces. Mutual defense reduces damage. Escort ships screen submarines and aircraft. Repairs move forward. Mobile repair ships and floating dry docks support operations close to combat zones. The carrier is no longer fragile. It is adaptable. By 1945, American carriers dominate the Pacific. They strike daily. They absorb hits and continue. The legacy is clear. American carriers did not survive because they avoided damage. They survived because they planned for it. Across the war, U.S. carriers conduct tens of thousands of sorties. They lose several ships, but many more return from damage once thought fatal. A Japanese naval engineer later remarked, "We believed damage meant death. They believed it meant work." That belief reshaped naval warfare. The speed of American carrier repairs turned steel and fire into momentum, and momentum into victory.